Our peak pose today, just to give you a heads up, is humming breath. And so last week we were focusing a lot on breath work. I'm going to revisit some of those breath exercises, but I'm really going to focus today on humming breath. And I'm going to tell you why during our time in Shavasana, once we've kind of settled in. So yeah, this is the second session focusing on breath work. So we're going to start off, as always, lying down in Shavasana. I have a new member today, so I'm just going to review Shavasana. The nickname is either corpse pose or immortal pose. So traditionally, Shavasana is done lying down with the feet hip-width apart and with the palms up. Bringing the shoulder blades in a little closer together so that we have good posture, even in a relaxation pose. You want a bit of traction in your neck, so you're going to pull out through the crown of your head, which is not the top of your head. It's kind of at the back of the top of your head where your hair swirls. So it's here. And so just imagine kind of pulling out through that area, and you're going to notice that it tucked your chin in just a little bit. Not a lot. I don't want a big chin tuck, just enough to get a bit of traction in the back of your neck, the cervical spine. If your back is a little tender today, you can bend your knees and have your knees collapse in towards each other. Some people like to have their hands on their body. It's very soothing. You can also choose to have a hand on your belly, for example, and a hand over your heart, or both hands on your belly. So you decide the pose that would make you feel most relaxed right now and settle into it. So imagine your yoga mat is a little nest, and you're just going to burrow yourself comfortably into your nest for our time in. And using your breath as an anchor, perhaps. Making your transition from your morning to this yoga class. And since breath is our theme today, I invite you to notice the quality of the inhales and the quality of the exhales. Not judging them in any way, just noticing what breath has shown up for you this morning. And you might have noticed that about every 3, 4, 5 breaths, your mind has the tendency to wander, and that's very normal. And that's when you have an opportunity to practice mindfulness by bringing the attention back to your breath, back to the rhythm of the inhales and the exhales. Yogis believe that breath is medicine for the body, and there's a lot of research to support that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that research shortly. So gratitude for the breath right now. Perhaps visualizing it as an ocean wave rolling in on the inhale and then slowly rolling out on the exhale. So some fun facts about your breath. In your nose, there's all these tiny hairs that cleanse impurities. And you have mucous membranes in your nose that heat up and moisturize the incoming breath. And your nasal passages also have turbinate, which acts as a kind of turbine, helping to drive incoming air down deeper into your lungs. Now today we're going to do the humming breath because the humming breath increases nitric oxide, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Nitric oxide is produced in your nasal passages and it's also absorbed there. And it's essential for our health because it allows blood, nutrients, and oxygen to travel to every part of our body effectively and efficiently. It regulates our blood pressure. It boosts our immune system. And there's been research done to show that it kills cancer cells and undesirable microorganisms, which means bacteria and viruses. It increases blood to the cell. And it aids in muscular control, balance, coordination, and helps with tension in the muscles also. Exercise helps increase nitric oxide. Nasal breathing rather than mouth breathing increases nitric oxide. And the hummingbird breath, which we're going to focus on today, there's been some studies done on it, and they found that when we practice humming breath, it increases the nitric oxide in our nasal passages by 15 times. So it's kind of cool how these yogis 2,000 years ago were just kind of intuitively working their way into this knowledge without the science to back it up. And then also humming breath is great for concentration and meditation. Helps to balance the pituitary gland in your head, which is part of the endocrine system that produces hormones. So lots of benefits to this humming breath. So just to get you excited about it today, we're going to do it when we sit up. But before we do that, we're just going to start to move our bodies around and wiggle in our mat. And I just want you to take a few breaths to intuitively move in your body, however your body feels like moving, doing some stretches perhaps with your arms and legs, wiggling fingers and toes. All right, so let's grab the block today and just squeezing it between your hands, lowering that block back and behind, and noticing when your shoulders say that's enough. So it might be here, it might be here. I don't want it all the way to the floor because the arms are going to come out of their shoulder sockets. So I want to keep those arms in the shoulder sockets. And for most people, well, for me at least, that means having it about an inch above the floor. And for some people with restrictions in their shoulders, it might be a 45-degree angle. We're just going to do that a few times. We're going to just juice up those shoulder joints. And we're going to coordinate breath with movement. So when we come down, the lungs open up, so we're going to inhale, we're stretching out the lungs, the diaphragm, the chest muscles, and then exhale, coming back up. Inhale, opening up the chest. Exhale, pressing on the block as we bring it back up. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhaling, slowly going down with the block. Noticing sensation in the shoulders, exhaling, come back up. 1 more time, go at your own rate. Good. And then putting that block down, bending the knees. And we're just going to do gentle windshield wipers, and we're going to use our arms also. So if you can clasp your opposite elbows, the knees are going to gently drop to one side and the elbows are going to drop in the opposite direction. So I like to inhale as I come up and exhale as I release and relax. Inhale, slowly come up, and then exhale, release and relax to the other side. So once again, the elbows are going in the opposite direction as the knees. Now the gaze, the head, is slowly rolling in the same direction as the elbows. If you have neck issues, you can just look straight ahead, up at the ceiling, And so just noticing what's showing up today, anything in the sacrum, any pain in the lower back or added sensation, anything going on in the shoulders today. So we're just gathering data, information, very impartially, not judging any of this, and just seeing what's showing up in our bodies today. Great. And then letting the arms come up. Our knees are bent. We're going to let one knee flop open to the side like a chicken wing. We're going to stretch out that leg into an A-frame and then drag that heel back towards the midline. So once again, we're going to inhale, bend that knee. Exhale, drop the knee open. Inhale, stretch out that leg. And then exhale, bring it back to the center line. We're going to do that one more time. Inhale the knee up, externally rotating it, dropping it to the side, stretching it out, and then dragging it back towards the midline. And we're going to do the other side 3 times. So that knee falls to the side on the exhale. Inhaling A-frame. Exhaling it, dragging against the floor, and you can keep the foot flexed there, and then inhaling it back up. All right, so drop to the side, stretch out, flex the heel, drag it along the floor, inhale back up. One last time. All right, and then let's wake up the feet, so we're just going to tap. Heels are down, just tap, 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 tap. So the knees are bent, the feet are tapping, and then you can alternate, like you're drumming, your feet are drumming. And you might notice your shin muscles kicking in. And then tap it heels, so keep the toe mounds on the floor and just the heels, and now you might notice that the calf muscles have kicked in, the gastrocnemius. And the soleus. All right, good. And then you can wave your feet to the side and back in, so good. And flutterboard them a little bit, and you can shake them a little bit, just really waking up those ankles, good. And then stretching those legs up for our first hamstring stretch. So the legs might not straighten. If you have tight hamstrings, your feet are pointing towards the ceiling, but your knees are bent. People with looser hamstrings are able to extend their legs. And we're going to do a few pumping. So we're going to bend the knees, stretch out, bend, stretch out. Good. And then bring the arms out, and we're going to shake up the arms and the legs. This is called dead bug. Good. And then we're going to drop the arms back and behind. The legs are as straight as we can comfortably get them. And on the exhale, the hands come in and pull the knees to the chest. So inhale, everything stretches out. Exhale, everything gets pulled in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. All right, so wrapping your fingers around the right knee, stretching out that left leg, and gently pulling that knee to our chest. And where do you feel this? So just, you might feel it in your knee joint, your hip joint. Do you have to make any modifications? If your knee's a little irritated, you can grab the back of your thigh instead. If you're feeling too much sensation in the stretched out leg, you can bend the stretched out leg. You might be feeling that in the psoas muscle. All right, and then dropping that knee out to the side like a chicken wing, external rotation of the hip, and noticing where you feel that. And then we breathe into the sensation. So wherever we're feeling the most sensation in our body, that's where we dedicate our breath. So just Imagine, for example, I'm kind of feeling it in my groin area, the top of that thigh. So I'm going to imagine breathing into that area to get it to release and relax a little more. So breath is used, the exhales particularly are used to relax the muscles. And then inhaling up, switching hands, we're going to go in for spinal twist. So I'm going to rest that foot on the inside of my extended knee, my extended leg knee. And I guide that knee over and across, and I'm going to look away from that bent knee. So I'm looking in the opposite direction. So you decide how deep you want to go. You can go 45 degrees, you can go more than 45 degrees. Both shoulders are anchored onto the ground, by the way. And you don't want any unpleasant sensation here in the sacrum. You've gone too far if you're getting unpleasant sensation. Let's take a breath here. Use the exhales to just surrender to the pose. Relaxing into it. And then inhaling it back up and stretching up that leg and shaking up that leg. And just notice, does the right side already feel a little different than the left side? Maybe, maybe not. So we just massage the ascending colon. Let's massage the transverse colon that runs along the top of our stomach. We're going to, let's just start with some circles to wake up the sacrum, the hip joints. So circles one way, circles the other way. And then you can do the Stairmaster. And just notice if one hip feels a little different than the other, or one knee feels a little different, or, so we're always being curious about differences in our body from one side to the other. And then starting to hug those knees in closer, or maybe grabbing the opposite wrists or elbows if that's accessible. And so we just want to hug our knees as closely to our torso as is comfortable for our bodies. Never fighting the pose, just finding a really safe and healthy variation for yourself. And then I like to rock side to side when I'm in it. So you decide, do you prefer to be still? Do you prefer the rock? And then for some reason my feet feel like moving a little, and my ankles want a little movement, so I'm going to just honor that. And then I'm going to bring my head up. Actually, I want you to more lead with the chest, and the chin stays back a little bit because I don't like too much flexion in the neck. So kind of just getting the shoulders up. And you'll notice that your abdominals have kicked in, your upper abdominals here. And just hugging like a seed. And then release and stretch back out. And then let all that blood from your legs shoot up into your organs and massage them a little. And then next, we're going to hug the left knee into the chest. So either the knee or the back of the thigh being pulled snugly, comfortably into the side ribs. Once again, if that foot feels like making movements, go with it. If the foot feels like being still, if you like to do circles with your knee. Lots of choices. You can always decide to hold the posture in perfect stillness or to explore little nuanced movements. What does your body feel like doing? And now that we've had a few breaths in this, are you able to comfortably hug that knee a little closer to your torso? Maybe, maybe not. And then dropping that knee to the outside like a chicken wing, external rotation of the hip. What sensations do you notice now? Breathing into sensation. And then inhaling that knee up, we're going to rest that foot against the inside of the extended leg knee. And then with the opposite hand, I'm going to guide that bent knee over and across to the other side, and I'm going to drop my head in the opposite direction. So this is a very gentle spinal twist. Both my shoulder blades are going to stay on the ground. They're going to anchor. So for most people, that knee will not go over and across to the ground. That would probably be too much for most people, unless you're hypermobile in the spine. And if you have any unpleasant sensation anywhere in your body, but particularly the pelvis area, then just don't go as deeply into the pose. And then we're going to take 3 breaths here. If you need more sensation, that hand can push that knee towards the ground. If you need less sensation, you can just take the whole hand out of the equation and just let gravity do its thing. So let's slip into one more breath. Let's make it the 3-part breath, which you've been working a lot on the last few weeks. Inhaling into the belly, then the side ribs, then the heart area, and a nice, slow exhale. Notice that it might be a little harder to do this breath when we're in a twist. And then next inhale, bringing that knee up and shaking it out. All right, let's do Laughing Baby, one of my favorite poses. We're going to pretend we're in a chair, upside down. Once again, you can move around your feet if they feel like moving around. You have the option of just being here, not doing anything else. You have the option of pulling on your calves and getting your knees closer towards your armpits or your ankles, or perhaps the edges of your feet. Whatever is available for you, and you're a baby in a crib, so you get to move around and play with your feet and make designs with your feet. So pretend your feet are immobile, that you're fascinated by. And rocking perhaps to one side and then the other, and just getting that massage to your back. So I always like to do a supine cobbler here. So remember, cobbler, supine means lying down. Cobbler is a pose we usually do seated, but I'm going to do it lying down here. I'm going to bring my insides of my feet together and just pull my feet a little closer towards my shoulders. And then see if I can get those knees to move further away from my shoulders. So as my feet are pulled closer to my shoulders, my knees move away. And if this is not accessible or not comfortable, then just skip it and continue doing Laughing Baby. And release, and we're going to do some spinal rocks, or you can just roll onto your side and get yourself up to seated pose. So you choose the transition mode to get up. Not everyone enjoys spinal rock the way I do. The spinal rocks wake up the spine a little bit. It's supposed to boost the immune system. All right, and we are sitting up. Now, cross-legged is not comfortable for everyone, so this is where your book or your block comes in handy. If this is not comfortable for your hips, sit on a block. All right, let's just go back to that cobbler here. Since we were practicing it lying down, we can do a few butterfly wings. And once again, if you're getting too much sensation in the groin, then please sit on the block. If you find yourself hunching a little, it's better to have the arms back here and have a nice extended spine, reaching up through the crown of the head. So what's your version of cobbler? Is it this? Is it this? Some people are very flexible in their hips and they can start to go into a forward bend, but only if you can keep the spine extended. If this starts to happen, then it's better to be further back. And then once I warm up, I find I can inch myself just a little bit closer to my heels. So if you need more sensation, you can rock yourself in a little tighter. Some people need more sensation, so they can interlock their fingers underneath their feet and then gently maybe coax themselves deeper into a forward bend, but not if this is happening. So we always want to maintain the integrity of the spine, elongating, reaching out through the crown of the head, right here. So we store a lot of emotions, according to some yogi theorists, in our hip area. So opening up the hips sometimes is responsible for a cathartic release of emotions, sometimes not. So if emotions bubble up in a yoga class, just know you're releasing stuff, and that's another benefit, because we do store tension, emotions, trauma in our bodies. So sometimes that just gets purged during a yoga class. So it's not just about stretching muscles. Great. Now, if you kick out the heels and make a diamond shape, we're going to go into tortoise. Tortoise is traditionally done with a rounded back, but as you know, I don't like rounding of the back very much unless it's in child's pose. And you might notice that the stretch has moved from the inside of the hips to the outside. It has for me at least, but everybody's different. And then I'm just with an extended spine. So for some people, this might be enough sensation to the hips. This might be enough. I'm practicing for 25 years. You might be able to get down a little deeper. And my body just felt like doing this, and it's called ballistic stretching. It's just kind of fluttering, butterfly wings. And once again, that gets the muscles to release and relax if it's just little pulses. And so if it feels nice for you, I invite you to do it. And then at some point, my body just feels like stopping doing it. And I find I can maybe kind of relax into it one more inch. And then dropping into the three-part breath here. Belly, side ribs, chest area. Nice, slow exhale. So generally, we like the breathing to be rhythmic, so keeping the inhales and exhales equal, or having the exhales slightly longer than the inhales, because when our exhales are longer than the inhales, it calms down our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest nervous system. So using the breath to relax our mind, our body, and when we exhale more slowly, it tells us that we're safe. We can let go a little more. All right, and then inhaling up out of the pose. All right, so just I wanted to say a few words about when to inhale in yoga and when to exhale. So part of me is, explore for yourself what feels better. So generally the inhales are used to stretch up when we have exertion, to open up the heart area so that we can take a deeper inhale. So for example, let's inhale the arms up. And exhale the arms down. Now I want you to try it the opposite way. Take an inhale first and exhale the arms up. Inhale them down. What felt better for you? So for me, and then you might be different, inhaling the arms up made me feel more expansive. And then I noticed when I exhale down, if I exhale really deeply, I almost kind of want to round in. And I'm going to resist that urge, right? But that's a common tendency. All right, I'd like you to play with this. So when you're in poses and moving into it, does it feel better to inhale into it or exhale into it? So really, your body is the ultimate guide here. All right, so let's try that a little more deeply. Let's inhale the arm up and then exhale slowly down onto our elbow. And you don't have to come all the way onto the elbow. And then inhale, open up the chest. And then exhale. So the exhales, we're kind of squeezing on those lungs, the organs. Inhale back up. So you inhale to be expansive usually, and exhale to surrender to the pose, release, relax. Inhale up, and exhale down. All right, inhale up, and I'm going to try something else with you, and you're going to see what feels better, inhaling or exhaling. So there's a cat-cow pose is often done on our hands and knees, but we can do it sitting down and do it in a 45-degree angle. So we can inhale into cow, puff up the chest, don't crank into the lower spine too much. Exhale into cat. Inhale into cow. Exhale into cat. Now we're going to try the opposite. So take an inhale. Exhale into cow. Inhale into cat. I don't know about you, but when I'm like this, it's hard to inhale, right? Because I'm pushing on my lungs, so there's not room to take in that inhale. And so that's why we usually inhale when we expand through the chest, exhale when we push on our organs or our lungs, all right? So let's do a few more of these. All right. So next, let's open up the hips a little bit more. We did the cobbler. The other way to open up the hips is figure four pigeons. So we're going to cross our right ankle, or any ankle, it doesn't matter, just an ankle over a knee. And if the knee is close to the chest, that might mean you have a tight buttock muscles. If you're able to pull that knee away from your chest, we're externally rotating the hip, you'll get more sensation. So this is less sensation, this is more sensation. And then we can throw in a bit of a twist where we twist to one side and then twist to the other side. So we're just doing a few more hip openers here. Or if you'd like to join me in laughing baby, you can, rock the baby. You grab the foot, rock it back and forth, warm it up. You might be able to get the baby's head in the crook of your elbow and then wrap the other elbow around its bum. So this is the head of the baby, your foot. Your knee is the bum of the baby, and you rock it. Now, are you starting to hunch? Because I am a little bit. So straighten out. Whoa, made it way harder. So some people might have to rock their baby like this to keep that spine elongated. So you decide. Now you might want to kiss the baby. You might want to rock the baby's head higher, which adds sensation, but you don't want to be in pain. And I like to keep that foot flexed to protect the integrity of the knee, right? So if you can, do your best to flex that foot. All right. One last variation, you can decide to lie down with the baby, and way more sensation here. And it's very hard to get the head on the ground, and you don't have to. All right, to get back up, you just lift that leg up, and you give yourself a big spinal rock, and then take a few spinal rocks, and then you let go of that baby. All right, so just tune into your hips. Does the right hip feel different than the left hip? I actually feel like my right leg is an inch longer now, which in fact one leg is usually a little bit longer, but I notice this particularly. All right, so I'm going to do the other leg and see if that leg feels longer. So now it's the other leg that crosses over the knee, so I hope you remember which one you started with. And once again, if you're tight, your knee will be closer to your torso, and that's okay. If you're if you have more external rotation available in your hip, you might be able to pull that knee away. This foot is flexed, not pointed, but flexed, and that protects my knee a bit. And then I'm going to start to play and do some gentle spinal twists. And then I'm going to just hold this here, massage my piriformis. So that's a tight muscle deep in your buttock. It allows you to externally rotate your hips. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a massage here. Good. And so your choices, do you want to hold here? Do you want to go back and forth into the spinal twist? Or do you want to do rock You know, if you did rock the baby on the other side, you should do it on this side. And you might have to rock it differently, like, you know, no two children are the same. So you might have been able to hug the last baby, but this one you need to rock it further from your body because you want to keep that spine straight. So you decide. You might want to kiss that baby. See, this side doesn't want to be kissed. You might want to lie down with the baby and just notice how that makes it maybe a little more challenging. I'm also feeling more sensation in my psoas muscle. That's the muscle in the extended leg on the inside. And then rocking back up and saying bye to that baby. Good. All right, so working on posture and breath are closely related, and the more open your chest is, the better your posture, the more open your chest is. The more open your chest is, the more room available for oxygen, right? So our exhales release carbon dioxide, which is waste, and then it leaves room for fresh new oxygen. So we're going to try to string this all together and work on posture, work on our inhales. We're going to grab the strap. I've done this one before. We're going to do robot arms, so if you have a belt or scarf, anything will work. And we're going to wrap this around our thumbs, right? So our thumbs are holding it up, and then we're going to wrap our fingers around it. We're going to bring our elbows to the side. So just notice this is a 90 degree. Notice that I'm trying to model good posture. If that's hard to do sitting down, it's easier on a block. Way easier to have good posture when you're sitting on a block. All right, so I'm going to just pull on that strap a little bit and inhale until I'm at a 90 degree. My arms are parallel to the floor, and I'm going to exhale back down. So the muscles in my back, my rhomboids, are pulling together to keep my shoulder blades close together. And you need those rhomboids for good posture. Otherwise this happens. These are overstretched rhomboids. These are actively engaged rhomboids because something's got to pull those shoulder blades close together, and it's your rhomboids. So that's what we're trying to strengthen here, particularly. So inhaling up, exhaling back down. So you use your inhales sometimes to give the part of the movement that requires more strength and energy. So coming up requires a little more energy than coming down. So we're going to use the inhale to come up and exhale to come down. Now resist the urge. Remember I said on exhales we often have a natural tendency to round our backs a little, ever so slightly on the exhale. It's totally natural, but we're going to fight that urge. So we're going to inhale up, which is easy to extend through the spine. And now we keep that spine extension on the exhale down, even though there's a slight tendency to do this. And your arms are getting a workout here also. And release that strap. All right, so working on opening up those chest muscles. We can get lots of oxygen in there. I've done this one a lot. We're going to go into Cactus Arms. Sitting up nice and tall and straight. So on the exhale, squeeze, because remember we're squeezing on those lungs, we exhale. Inhale up, extend. Exhale to neutral. Inhale, open up, get that oxygen in. Exhale, squeeze, get rid of that carbon dioxide. Inhale, extend up. Exhale, come down just a few inches with those elbows. So inhale, oxygen. Exhale, carbon dioxide. Inhale, oxygen. Exhale, carbon dioxide. Let's do that a few more times. So once again, I'm stretching and strengthening the chest muscles and the rhomboids in the back and the trapezius in the back. So these are all muscles that assist us in good posture. All right, last one, and then I'm going to have a variation. All right, W, Cactus Arms. Sorry, then we'll go into W. So these are Cactus Arms. I'm just trying to get those shoulders back and down. We're going to go into W arms and try to get those elbows to poke forward a little bit if you can. It's a rotation of the shoulder joints. So, and then inhale up. So we're going to make snow angels. Exhale into W. Inhale. Now the fingers might touch. They might stop here, 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 whatever's available to you. So a lot of people have shoulder limitations. So only go as far as your weakest shoulder side. So it might be small little snow angels. It might be deep snow angels. And once again, what feels more natural to you, inhaling up or exhaling up? So I want you to experiment with that. What feels most natural to you? So that you can start to link breath with movement, not always dependent on instruction from the yoga teacher, but what intuitively feels more natural for you. Remembering that we want to expand our lungs on the inhale and then naturally unexpand on the exhale. All right, so the final one, we're going to inhale into a victory pose and then just pulse those arms back and down a little bit. So make sure you pull in the belly button a little bit because I'm worried about you collapsing into your lumbar spine. So if we don't have a lot of movement in our arms, our back will kind of take over to create the movement. But we have a neutral spine, belly button slightly engaged, and just pulsing those arms back. And getting a nice stretch along here. Good. And then I'm going to ask you to float your arms back and behind. Interlock your fingers, or you can grab the strap. So this is Yoga Mudra, amazing for posture. So some people are able to interlock their fingers and lock out the arms. My arms are locked out, which generally we don't want to do in yoga, but this is the one exception. And then some people are able to come forward a little bit and get those arms higher up. Other people aren't. For other people, locking out the arms is not accessible, in which case, use the strap, right? That's what we got it for. And then coming forward a little bit. And just noticing your arms might come up an inch, 2 inches. Some yogis are able to get their arms right up to the ceiling, but that's because they've got hypermobility in the shoulder joint, and it's not even necessarily good to have hypermobility, by the way. And inhale and come up. So I recommend you do this a few times during the day when you're in front of the computer a lot, is just do one of these, and it opens up the chest. It sets the shoulders. So now, bring your hands on your knees. It should be a little easier for your shoulders to come back and down. All right. Next, the humming breath, which is our feature breath today, which I talked a lot about during Shavasana. So humming breath is just what it sounds like. It's humming. And it sounds like this. And I think it's kind of cool how mothers intuitively hum to their babies. And it's almost to kind of encourage that. So humming is soothing to the nervous system. I think we all intuitively feel that. I think most of us like to hum to tunes. So the encouragement is when you're in a car listening to a song, hum along to it. And listen to music, hum with it. So we're going to do a 3-part breath, and on the exhale, we're going to make that sound. One more thing, in yoga, they like to chant Om, where you go Om. And in fact, a lot of the chanting ends in the letter M, and it's a natural humming sound. And so it's kind of interesting how the yogis, all those years ago, were into those M words that ended with M in their chanting, because that is what helps produce the nitric oxide. So remember, we're going to be producing 15 times our regular nitric oxide by doing this. So sitting up nice and tall and straight up, opened everything up. You should have really good posture now. Your shoulders are back and down. Your heart is open. We're going to inhale belly, side ribs, heart, and then hum and exhale. Ready? Inhale, belly, side ribs, heart, and if your throat's starting to hurt or be irritated, just don't hum as loudly as I have. I invite you to try it closing your eyes. And maybe even humming the tune of your favorite song. Oh, Canada. And that's the hummingbird breath. I'm going to come back to it at the very, very end of class. I'm actually going to put on a song that we can hum to. So the takeaway, hopefully, from today's class is hum as much as you can because you're producing nitric oxide. All right, so let's go into our hands and knees now into tabletop. So we're going to, so tabletop, I review this every time. Wrist creases are parallel to top of the mat. The hands are about 1 inch wider than shoulder width. The fingers are splayed. The feet are behind the knees, so you can't see them. And from here, we're going to go into cow and cat, and we're going to coordinate our breath. So, inhaling into cow, puffing up the chest, not collapsing through this lower back, trying to keep the lower back neutral. And then exhaling, protracting the shoulder blades, and then inhaling back into cow. Exhaling, protracting the shoulder blades, pushing up through the thoracic spine. Inhaling into cow, exhaling into cow. So this is also good for posture. It stretches out those muscles in the back and then contracts them when you inhale. Now, if you want to try the opposite, since we're playing, see what happens if you exhale into cow and inhale into cow. So just try that out so that you really truly do feel the difference. And we're doing this all through the nose, because remember, we produce more nitric oxide when we breathe through the nose than when we breathe through the mouth. And then you can play with it. So intuitively, what do you feel like doing? You can go into downward puppy, you can go into upward dog, you can wag your tail, you can do chest circles. So I invite you to close your eyes and freestyle it, but I want you to see if you can maintain the 3-part breath: belly, side ribs, heart. Nice, slow exhale. And if you can kind of just intuitively coordinate it with movements, like what movements make you want to inhale, what movement makes you want to exhale. So really giving your full attention to your breath and its relationship with movement. And then I'm going to invite you, if you want to join me, in a half spinal twist. Inhaling one arm up, exhaling, weaving the arm halfway through, not coming right onto the shoulder, and then inhaling the arm back up, and exhaling, weaving through. If this isn't your thing this morning, then just keep moving in any way that you feel like is relaxing tension in your body. Here we're doing a little bit work on the internal, external obliques. And you control how deeply you want to thread that needle. And the other side. All right, so we're going to do a breath of fire, which I covered last week. We're going to do it with the toes curled under and the knees an inch above. So for people who weren't here last week, breath of fire is contraindicated for people with headaches, migraines, you've had a lot of stress this morning, if you're at all feeling anxious, if you're pregnant, you wouldn't do 3 breath of fire. But very quickly, it's just rapid exhales, tiny inhales. Exhale is the emphasis, so it's like, so on the exhale, the belly pulls in, pushes on the diaphragm, pushes out the carbon dioxide to make room for fresh oxygen. If you get dizzy at all during this, you stop immediately, all right? Now, you can skip this and just do the next pose just using your 3-part breath. So we're going to curl the toes under, place the hands an inch wider than the shoulders, wrist creases parallel to the top of the mat, thumb and forefinger particularly pushing into the ground. Bring the knees up, 10 rapid exhales. Take a break, go into inhale into cow, exhale into cat, and decide whether you want to join me for a second round or not, because you can skip it if you want. All right. Release, inhale cow, exhale cat, going in for that 3rd round. Release, inhale cow, exhale cat. All right, pointer dog or bird dog. So we're going to extend one arm out in front of us. Notice how that's shifted the weight, the gravity, center of gravity in your body. My opposite hand is doing a lot more work now. And the same knee as this arm is doing a lot of work. And now I'm going to extend that leg out behind and do a Barbie foot. So the ball joint is really pushing through. I'm going to resist the urge to collapse into my lower back. So I'm going to pull my belly button up. Arm is in its socket. So both arms firmly in their sockets. Both thigh bones firmly in their sockets. And this is where you can use your 3-part breath or your Ujjayi breath, if you're familiar with Ujjayi breath, to hold it. And release, and we'll try the other side. So the other arm extends out. Notice how the hand on the floor is working harder, and then the opposite knee should be working a little harder. And then we're going to slowly extend the opposite leg to the hand that's out. I'm going to do a Barbie foot, which means really pushing out through the toe mounds of my foot. I'm going to pull up on my belly button so I don't collapse into my lower spine, and then resist the urge to collapse into your arm. So I'm going to, the humerus, the arm bone is firmly in a socket, but it's not collapsed into the socket. So you want to pull out of your arm a little bit. All right, the arm that's extended, pull that arm into its socket. Fingers are stretched out. I have very energized fingers here. And I'm going to try to slip into my 3-part breath. Notice the 3-part breath is a little harder when we're doing abdominal work. So this is core work. And then release, and let's go into a downward puppy. We're going to bring the heels towards, the buttocks towards the heels. They might land on the heels, they might not, it doesn't matter. Stretch out the arms, press the hands into the floor, and drop the forehead towards the floor. It might hit the floor, it might not. And taking a 3-part breath here. We're going to come back into tabletop as soon as you finish that 3-part breath. And I'm going to get a forearm stretch. So one hand, we're going to bring it, it's at 12 o'clock. Both hands are at 12 o'clock. Bring one hand maybe to either 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. How does that feel? Can you bring that hand to 6 o'clock? You might be able to, you might not. So you find the angle that you want to bring it to, and then pull away from that hand to get the forearm stretch. And breathe into that stretch, and then return it. The other hand is at 12 o'clock. Are you going to bring it to 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock? Can you bring it to 6 o'clock? Do you have the same mobility in that wrist as the other hand? Maybe, maybe not. So once you find your range of motion, comfortable range of motion, you can just start to pull away from that palm. And you can pulse a little bit, ballistic stretching. And you should be enjoying the stretch. So if you're not, you maybe went too far. Good. And then next, triceps. If you have a block, you can use a block. You don't need a block necessarily. You place your elbows on the very outside edge of the block or on the floor, and you place your hands on your shoulders, and then you bring your head down towards the floor. So your elbows are on the floor of the block, and your body's kind of pulling away from your elbows, and you should get a nice stretch in your elbows there, yeah. So just play with that a little bit. And you can, try it with a block, try it without a block. What do you prefer? Do you prefer it on a block? Do you prefer it without a block? And then coming back to tabletop. So I just want to work a little bit on strengthening the glutes here. So we're going to pull our belly button into, if you're getting tired, by the way, if you have wrist issues, if you pile up some blocks, you can do this on your elbows. Like if you have 2 blocks, you can try doing this on your elbows if your wrists are starting to complain. All right, so engaging the core. So pulling that belly button up into the spine, bringing one leg into a 90-degree angle behind you, flexing that foot. Now I'm collapsing through the lower spine. I'm going to resist that urge. I'm going to pull that belly button up. My arms are firmly in those sockets, and then just going to do little pulses, and they're not going to be big. So the hamstring is working here, the glutes are working here. Try to distribute your weight evenly in both hands, if you can. Good. Good. And then bring that leg down, and then try it with a straight leg pointing. Watch that lower spine. It's going to want to arch a little. And then try it with the foot flexed. And then bring that foot out to the side, and then exhale, drag that toe to the other side. So me, I'm going from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, or you might be going from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock, depending which side you're on. And I like to inhale when I go up to the side, and exhale as I drag my toe back and behind. All right, and here's the final one, the hardest one. Bring the foot out to the side. It might be here, it might be here, it might be here. Find the angle that works for you. Both hands firmly pressing into the floor, arms in their sockets. Inhale that foot up, exhale back down. And I'm flexing it. Inhale up. Ooh, that's a hard one. So the abductor muscles, the gluteus medius is working really hard here. 2 more. And release. Okay, downward puppy rest for a few breaths before we tackle that other side. Alright, so coming back into tabletop, spreading those fingers wide, hands an inch wider than shoulder width, wrists underneath the shoulders, fingers splayed, thumb and forefinger pressing a little more than the other finger mounds. Alright, so extending the other leg, bending the knee, trying to get 90-degree angles, pulling up on the belly button, and doing little pulses. So you can see there's a real urge to collapse through the lumbar spine here, and that's why we're pulling the belly button up into the spine. And these movements are small. It only takes an inch. And the hamstring's working pretty hard here. Gluteus maximus in your buttock is working pretty hard. And make sure you're taking your nice rhythmic inhales and exhales. And then extending that leg, inhaling a flexed foot up, exhaling a flexed foot down, inhaling the flexed foot up, exhaling down. And trying to distribute the weight evenly in both hands. There's going to be a tendency to put more of your weight into one hand than the other. All right, let's try it with a pointed toe now. Whether you flex or point gets you to use different muscles in your calf region. All right, and then we're going to drag that toe along the floor out to the side, look at that foot, and then drag that toe, making an arc to the other side. And your gaze follows that foot, unless you have neck issues, in which case you can look straight forward. Inhaling, sweeping up, exhaling, sweeping back and behind. And just see if you can slow it down. We have a tendency to move through movements quickly when they're hard. And slowing it down, will slow down your breath, and it'll make it a little bit harder too. And then the last one, the one I find really challenging, bring the foot out to the side, whatever angle suits you. Flexing that foot, distributing the weight evenly in both hands, and inhaling that foot up. And it's just an inch, it doesn't have to be high up. Our legs are very heavy, it's our heaviest limb. Resisting the urge to hold the breath, reducing the angle if it's too challenging. 3 more. And release. Oh, downward puppy stretch. Nice break here. Wiggle your tail a little. And then coming up onto your heels. Stretching up the arms. Oh. And bringing the feet out in front of you. All right, we're almost ready to land that plane. We're going to lie down, and we're going to end off with a hamstring stretch. So, grabbing that strap, putting it around the big toe mound, straightening, so both legs are extended. If your psoas here is speaking to your inner thigh muscle, you can keep that knee bent, all right? If you keep it straight, you're just getting a little bit of an extra bonus psoas stretch to that leg. So for this leg that's up in the air, we're working on the hamstring. So you might be holding your leg here, you might be holding it here, you might be holding it here. So you figure out the angle so that you can chart your progress over the week. So we're going to keep that leg straight, but we're not going to hyperextend it. So this is hyperextending. You want a little bit of a tiny micro bend. How do you get that micro bend? Pull up on the kneecap. So you pull up on that kneecap, you engage your quad here, which actually gets the hamstring to stretch a little more. Now I don't want to pull up on that kneecap the whole time, because I also want to enjoy this. So I just pull out on it a little bit to just get that tiniest little bit of a micro bend so I'm not hyperextending. And then I want to drop that elbow to the floor so that arm can relax a little bit. I like to do little movements here. You might decide you want to drop that leg open to the side. Just changes the hamstring stretch a little. The inside of the thigh starts to get in on the action. And then inhaling back up. Taking one more 3-part breath here. Belly, side ribs, heart. Nice, slow exhale. And I'm just going to see if I can coax that foot forward a little more now that I've warmed it up without straining or striving too hard. And then I'm going to bend that knee and slip the other foot through the loophole and float that leg down. And I have to start all over. So start off, in the, further from your body, and then slowly bring your leg up. And if you close your eyes, let your hamstring tell you when enough is enough. Like what does your hamstring want? Not your ego. A lot of ego around flexibility. And then when you feel that nice, good stretch, you're going to stop and do your 3-part breath. Perhaps closing your eyes. Perhaps being still. Perhaps making micro movements. Perhaps dropping that leg to the side if you feel the urge. So stretching, if you do it gently with an air of nice non-striving, it gets your nervous system to release and relax. That's why it's good to do some gentle stretching before you go to bed at night. You can go online and research all these bed yoga websites. They tell you how to do yoga in the comfort of your bed. Inhaling that leg up, getting your foot out of that loop, and it is the magic time. Shavasana, Immortal Pose. Practicing good posture, even in Immortal Pose. Bring those shoulder blades in a little closer together. Wiggling, wiggling, wiggling into your little nest here. And then tucking your chin in just 1 centimeter, not a lot, to get some traction in the back of your neck. And then just letting go with each exhale. Surrendering to the final and ultimate pose of all yoga classes, Shavasana. So we've been doing a lot of breath control. In Shavasana, we go into breath awareness, so no longer controlling the breath. And just noticing when you stop moving, what happens to the breath? How does the breath change when we relax and just stop? Stop everything. How does it change the quality of the breath and the rhythm of the breath? And at what point does the puppy mind wander? And at what point do you catch it and invite it back to the room, perhaps to the breath, or perhaps to another anchor of your choosing? It doesn't always have to be the breath. When you catch the mind wandering, being curious about it, not admonishing yourself, it's just doing its job. Perhaps noticing where it went, and then seeing if it's ready to come back to the present moment. Take 5 more breaths here, just so you can pace yourself, and just notice if you're getting restless or if you're actually wanting to stay here longer. What's going on? What's your body telling you? And just noticing that. Delicious breath here, really present for it. Let's really enjoy that breath. And then transitioning onto your side into Baby Krishna. You can do that by doing a few windshield wipers with bent knees, or you can rock right over into your side. How do you want to make that transition? Making a pillow with your arm, or you can put the block under your head. And just checking in with your body. How was that yoga class for you today? We did a lot of hummingbird breath. How was that for your throat, by the way? How's your throat feeling? How's everything else in your body feeling? Is there anything percolating up, any physical sensations that want your attention right now? Because we want that information to guide us through our next yoga practice. Did we push too hard in one of the poses? Do we need to back off something next time? And what's your energy level right now? How are you doing mentally right now, emotionally? Aware of it all. And then on the inhale, stretching our upper arm out to the sky, inhaling right into your new day. Exhaling that arm down, pushing it into the floor, getting up to seated. You want to join me in flame pose, practicing good posture, trying to set this posture for the whole rest of the day. Inhaling your arms up for the final yogic stretch. And when you float your arms down, seeing yourself healthy, peaceful, happy, and enjoying your breath all day long. Bring your hands back to your heart. Make sure you give yourself a big bow for getting yourself out to yoga class today, and big bow to the body. Thank you, body. As you roll your mats back up, I'm going to play a song that makes me happy called Every Little Cell in My Body is Happy, and the invitation is to hum to the song as I'm playing it, and just continue that humming good vibe for the rest of the day.
Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well.
Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well.
I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body.
And that was it. That's my happy song. This is what I hum in the car. I can't sing, but I can manage this one.